Ladies and gentlemen, basketball fanatics, hoop junkies, and everyone tuning in from all corners of the globe, welcome back to the channel. If you thought for one single second that the National Basketball Association was going to give us a quiet, relaxing summer in 2026, you are absolutely out of your mind. The off-season is supposed to be a time for recovery, a time for vacation, a time to reset the batteries. But in this league, the drama never sleeps, the rumor mill never stops spinning, and the stakes have literally never been higher. We are standing at the epicenter of a seismic shift in the basketball landscape, and today we have a doubleheader of absolute insanity to break down for you. We are talking about two of the most polarizing, heavily debated, and fiercely competitive figures in the modern era of the sport. I am talking about Jimmy Butler and Tyler Herro. Right now, the headlines are screaming, the front offices are panicking, and the fan bases are at each other's throats. Let's start with the situation out in the Bay Area, because what is happening with the Golden State Warriors and Jimmy Butler is nothing short of a basketball tragedy mixed with front office paranoia. As we all know, Jimmy Butler suffered a devastating torn right ACL back in January this year, going down in a highly emotional, highly physical matchup against his former team, the Miami Heat. Since that moment, the narrative has spiraled out of control. The media pundits, the talking heads, the anonymous front office insiders, they are all whispering the exact same thing. They are saying the Warriors are desperate to dump Jimmy Butler. They are saying Golden State wants to wash their hands of his $56.8 million expiring contract for the 2026 to 2027 season. They are floating wild, blockbuster trade scenarios to bring in LeBron James or Anthony Davis, treating Jimmy like a disposable asset, a mere mathematical salary matcher on a spreadsheet. But I am here today to set the record straight. I am here to look right into the camera and issue a public warning to the Golden State Warriors organization. Do not do it. Do not pull the trigger. Jimmy Butler will be back immediately before the year is over. Just do not trade him. We're talking about a man whose entire career is defined by defying the odds, by grinding through pain, by outworking every single person in the room. The medical timeline says an ACL tear takes up to a year. But Jimmy Butler is not built like a normal human being. All the quiet reports, all the rumblings from his inner circle indicate that his rehab is so far ahead of schedule that it is terrifying. He is eyeing return by Thanksgiving, or at the very absolute latest, Christmas of this year. If you trade him now, while his value is artificially deflated by an injury, you are making a catastrophic, franchise-altering mistake. And if that is not enough to get your blood pumping, we have to pivot our attention down to South Beach, where the Miami Heat have just pulled off the unthinkable. Pat Riley has done it again. Giannis Antetokounmpo is officially a member of the Miami Heat in a blockbuster, earth-shattering megatrade. But in order to land the Greek freak, Miami had to empty the cupboards, and the centerpiece of that outgoing package was none other than Tyler Herro. Herro is heading back to his home state, Wisconsin, to play for the Milwaukee Bucks. On the surface, it looks like a clean break, a homecoming, a fresh start. But peel back one single layer, and the narrative turns toxic, vicious, and downright ugly. Across social media, across sports talk radio, and deep within the most passionate sectors of Heat Nation, Tyler Herro is being called a coward. Yes, you heard me correctly. A coward. People are looking back at his tenure in Miami, looking at his injury history, looking at his failure to step up and carry the franchise as the alpha dog once Jimmy Butler was traded to Golden State in 2025, and they are branding him with the worst label a professional athlete can carry. They are saying he shrank under the bright lights. They are saying he wanted the bag, the money, and the fame of South Beach, but he didn't want the crushing pressure of Heat culture when the safety net was removed. This is an incredibly heavy accusation, a brutal indictment of a young player's character. Today, we are going to dive headfirst into the abyss. We are going to unpack the medical miracles of Jimmy Butler, the complex psychology of Tyler Herro's departure, the financial cap gymnastics driving these decisions, and the raw, unfiltered truth behind the headlines. Settle in, grab your coffee, lock your focus, because this is the deep dive you will not find anywhere else on the internet. Let's get into it. Let's begin by dissecting the absolute circus that has become the Golden State Warriors front office. When the Warriors acquired Jimmy Butler at the February 2025 trade deadline, It was supposed to be the final, glorious chapter of the Stephen Curry era. It was a 5-team blockbuster that sent Andrew Wiggins packing and brought Jimmy into the Bay Area to provide that gritty, defensive-minded, clutch performing edge that the Warriors desperately needed to maximize Steph's twilight years. And for a brief, fleeting moment, it looked like a match made in basketball heaven. Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, the ultimate grinder paired with the ultimate shooter. But then came January 19th, 2026. A random Monday night game against the Miami Heat. Jimmy goes down hard. The arena falls dead silent. The MRI confirms our worst fears, a torn right ACL. In an instant, the Warriors' championship aspirations were put on life support, and Jimmy Butler was ruled out for the remainder of the 2025 to 2026 campaign. Fast forward to right now, the summer of 2026. The Golden State Warriors are staring down the barrel of a financial and existential crisis. Stephen Curry is entering the final year of his contract. The clock is not just ticking. The alarm bells are ringing so loud you can hear them in outer space. The front office is looking at Jimmy Butler's contract, a staggering, eye-watering $56.8 million for this upcoming season. And they are sweating. They realize that $57 million of their salary cap is currently sitting in a rehabilitation room, doing leg presses and icing a surgically repaired knee. So what do? They panic. The leaks start hitting the media. Nick Friedel, Brett Siegel, Shams Charania. The reports are everywhere. The Warriors are exploring contingencies. They're looking to attach future first-round draft picks to Jimmy Butler's expiring contract and ship him off to whoever is willing to absorb the money, all in a desperate bid to bring in a healthy superstar like Anthony Davis, or to somehow clear the decks to recruit LeBron James on a discount. But I need everyone in the Warriors organization to stop, take a deep breath, and look at the reality of who Jimmy Butler is. You do not trade Jimmy Butler in the middle of a rehab assignment. That is an incredibly cynical, cold-blooded maneuver that completely ignores the human element and, more importantly, the competitive reality of the situation. This is not a player who takes injuries lying down. Jimmy has reportedly looked the Golden State front office in the eye and made a promise. He has promised them a massive return. Do you know what it means when a 6-time All-Star, a man who dragged the Miami Heat to 2 NBA Finals through sheer force of will, makes a promise? It means you bank on it. It means you take it to the bank and you lock in the vault. The standard recovery time for an ACL tear is 10 to 12 months. But we are already hearing whispers that Jimmy is crushing his milestones. If he tore the ACL in mid-January, 10 months puts us precisely around Thanksgiving of this year, November 2026. Even if you want to be conservative and add a buffer, we are talking about a return right around Christmas. That means Jimmy Butler is going to be back immediately before the calendar year of 2026 is over. He is not missing the entire season. He is going to miss the first 2 months, maybe a few weeks more. And when he comes back, he is going to come back with a chip on his shoulder the size of the Golden Gate Bridge. If you are the Warriors, you need a healthy, motivated, deeply angry Jimmy Butler for playoffs, not for opening night in October. Furthermore, let's talk about the message it sends to your locker room if you trade him right now. You trade a respected veteran, a guy who is beloved by his teammates, just to chase a pipe dream? If you package Jimmy Butler with 2 unprotected first-round picks to get Anthony Davis, you are completely gutting whatever future you have left, and you are disrespecting a player who genuinely wants to retire as a Warrior. Jimmy has said he loves the front office. He loves the culture. You hold the line. You let the man rehab. You survive October and November, and you let Jimmy Butler walk out of that tunnel in late December to save your season. If you trade him now, you are trading him at his absolute lowest value. Pennies on the dollar. It is bad business. It is bad basketball, and it is a terrible look for a franchise that prides itself on doing things the right way. Just do not trade him. Wait for the storm to pass. Now, we have to flip the script and travel across the country to the white-hot spotlight of Miami, Florida. The Miami Heat just executed a transaction that will be talked about for the next 50 years. Acquiring Giannis Antetokounmpo is the ultimate Pat Riley masterpiece. But every masterpiece requires a sacrifice, and the sacrificial lamb in this scenario was Tyler Herro. Sent to Milwaukee Bucks alongside Kel'el Ware, Jamie Jaquez Jr., and a mountain of draft capital, Herro is finally out of Miami. It is a homecoming for him. He gets to play in Wisconsin where he grew up. He posted a beautiful, lengthy farewell message, thanking Mickey Arison, Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, and the fans, saying he became a man and a father in Miami. It was poetic. It was clean. So why, ladies and gentlemen, is the word coward trending? Why are the talk radio lines jamming up with furious Heat fans tearing down a guy who gave them 7 years of his life, won a Sixth Man of the Year award, and helped them reach 2 NBA Finals? To understand this hostility, we have to look at the massive void that was left when Jimmy Butler was traded away from Miami in 2025. When Jimmy left, the keys to the franchise were tossed directly into Tyler Herro's lap. It was his moment to step out of the shadows, to prove that he was not just a complimentary scorer, but foundational, franchise-carrying superstar. The Heat organization looked at him and said, "Okay, kid, you wanted the max money. You wanted the spotlight. It is yours. Show us what you have." And what did we see? We saw a player who fundamentally struggled to carry the weight of Heat culture on his own shoulders. This past season, Herro was limited to just 33 games due to a lingering, frustrating knee issue. The availability just was not there. But it was not just a physical absence. It was a psychological positioning. Before Game 3 of their brutal first-round playoff series against Cleveland this past spring, a series where Miami was ultimately obliterated and swept, Tyler Herro sat down with the media and gave an incredibly revealing, incredibly damaging quote. He said, and I quote, "Obviously, I know I need Jimmy to win. If we had Jimmy right now, I feel like it'd be a completely different situation. We probably wouldn't even be the 8th seed." He went on to talk about how tough it was to be stuck in the middle, balancing the team's needs with Jimmy's career choices. Heat Nation +1. To the outside world, that might sound like a player just being honest, just respecting his former teammate. But in Miami, inside the pressure cooker of Heat culture, that quote was viewed as a white flag. It was viewed as a capitulation. The hardcore fan base looked at that statement and said, "You are our highest paid perimeter player. You are supposed to be the guy, and you are sitting here admitting that you are helpless without Jimmy Butler." They wanted a killer. They wanted a player who would look at the media and say, "Jimmy is gone. This is my team now. And we're going to go out there and destroy whoever is in front of us." Instead, they got a guy pining for the past, admitting his own inadequacy as a number one option. That is exactly where this label of coward is originating. It is harsh. It is arguably deeply unfair. But the narrative is that Tyler Herro ran from the grind to being the face of the franchise. He didn't want to engage in a bitter, drawn-out contract extension battle with Pat Riley this summer. He was eligible for a massive 3-year, $150 million extension starting in October, and the widespread belief was that he was going to decline any team-friendly offer the Heat put on the table. The Heat learned their lesson from the Jimmy Butler contract saga. They were not going to be held hostage. So, rather than face a season of overwhelming pressure, intense scrutiny, and a brutal contract negotiation in a city that demands absolute perfection, Herro got a convenient ejection seat back to his hometown of Milwaukee. The critics are asserting that he is breathing a sigh of relief, that he is thrilled to go back to Wisconsin where the expectations are lower, where he doesn't have to be the savior, where he can just blend in, shoot his threes, and not have to answer to the terrifying glare of Pat Riley every time he misses a defensive rotation. They are calling him a coward because they believe he lacked the emotional fortitude to weather the storm in Miami. Is it a fair assessment? Probably not. Tyler Herro gave his blood, sweat, and tears to the Miami Heat. He hit some of the most clutch shots in the history of that franchise's recent playoff runs. You do not survive 7 years in Eric Spoelstra's system if you are soft. You just don't. But perception is reality in the NBA. And right now, the perception is that Tyler Herro tapped out when the water got too deep. As we look at the grand scheme of things, it is absolutely fascinating how the intertwined destinies of Jimmy Butler and Tyler Herro continue to shape the league, even when they are thousands of miles apart. When Jimmy was in Miami, he provided the ultimate shield. His sheer intensity, his alpha dog mentality, completely absorbed the pressure of the media and the front office, allowing players like Tyler Herro to operate freely in his slipstream. Herro could be the flashy, dynamic scorer off the bench, or the secondary option, because Jimmy was the one taking the bullets. When that shield was removed, the reality of what Tyler Herro is, and what he isn't, was exposed to the harsh Florida sun. He is an elite scorer, a brilliant shooter, but he is not a franchise cornerstone who can single-handedly establish a winning culture. And there is no shame in that. Very few human beings on the planet can do what Jimmy Butler does. Which brings us right back to the Golden State Warriors and my final plea. You are looking at Jimmy Butler, sitting in a rehab facility, working his knee back to strength. You have seen what happens to a franchise when his presence is removed. The Miami Heat completely lost their identity until they were forced to trade their future away for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Do not make the mistake of undervaluing the sheer cultural impact of Jimmy Butler. Yes, the contract is massive. Yes, he is aging. Yes, coming off a torn ACL is terrifying, but the man is a winner. He is a survivor. He is going to be back immediately before this year is over. If the Warriors front office can just show a modicum of patience, if they can resist the urge to hit the panic button and pull off a short-sighted trade just to save some luxury tax money or roll the dice on a rapidly declining superstar, they will be rewarded. A rested, reconstructed, highly motivated Jimmy Butler joining Steph Curry for a playoff push in the spring of 2027 is a terrifying prospect for the rest of the Western Conference. So, as we wrap up this massive deep dive into the chaotic state of the 2026 NBA offseason, I have to turn the question over to you, the viewers. This is where I need to hear your voices, because the debates right now are tearing the internet apart. I need you to go down into the comment section right now and give me your raw, unfiltered takes on these two massive storylines. First, talk to me about Golden State. Am I crazy for telling them to hold on to Jimmy Butler? Do you think his knee is completely cooked and the Warriors need to trade him immediately before his value hits absolute zero? If you're the general manager of the Golden State Warriors, are you attaching draft picks to dump his $57 million salary? Or are you holding the line, trusting the rehab process, and betting everything on him returning by Christmas to make one final glorious run with Stephen Curry? Let me know exactly what you would do. And secondly, we have to talk about Tyler Herro and this toxic coward narrative. Is Heat Nation being entirely too harsh on a guy who was practically a kid when they drafted him? Is it unfair to expect him to fill the shoes of a generational competitor like Jimmy Butler? Or do the fans have a point? Did Tyler Herro run from the grind? Did his comments about needing Jimmy prove that he lacked the internal fire necessary to be a true superstar in Miami? I want to know if you think Milwaukee is going to resurrect his career, or if the pressure of his massive contract is going to follow him to Wisconsin. This league is a soap opera, a multi-billion-dollar drama that never, ever stops delivering. The loyalty is non-existent. The trades are ruthless, and the narratives change with the wind. But that is exactly why we love it. That is why we tune in every single day. If you enjoyed this breakdown, if you appreciate the deep dive, make sure you smash that like button. It genuinely helps the channel push through the algorithm and reach more hardcore basketball fans just like you. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update, because the second another trade drops, the second another rumor breaks, we are going to be right here, breaking it down piece by piece. Thank you all so much for spending your time with me today. Keep debating, keep loving the game, and remember, in the NBA, expect the unexpected. I will see you all in the next video.